welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to podcasts on iTunes and on podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Del Vecchio. With me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Myers. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, friends.
Hello, everyone. So, if I wasn't already busy enough, I decided to join a bowling league that started tonight, and something awesome and something amazing happened. Which do you want to hear first?
Well, I just want to make sure you don't roll on Shabbos, right?
No.
Okay.
So, awesome or amazing?
Amazing.
Amazing. I face planted in front of everybody.
Ooh.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn. That was the amazing part?
Yeah, that was the amazing thing.
So bowling league's going well.
Yes. The awesome thing was the guy in the lane next to me bowled a 300.
Oh damn.
Yeah. I would have switched those, I think.
That was supposed to be the bit, but I did the awesome and amazing wrong. It was supposed to be like good and amazing or something.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so there's these little booties that you put on your feet when you have to go into the bathroom, so you don't take your shoes on and off. And I forgot to take the booty off. So when I went to slide, obviously the booty is not meant to slide.
Oh.
And bang, like hard.
Well, real quick.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
My knee might be hurt, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Oh man. You have an Aaron Rodgers type season.
Yeah. No, meaning I think I maybe bruised it, not tore anything or
you're
anything.
Shelved. First game out, you're shelved now.
Well, I bowled 2 games after it, so I think I'm fine, but I just know it's going to swell up tomorrow.
All right. Well, how well did you do?
Not great, but it's all because I haven't bowled in a year, so picking up spares was not great. So I missed a lot of single pin spares, which meant my score ended up being just barely over 100, but if I would have hit those, it would have been like 130, so 140. So for the first time, out in a year without any practice before today, I was pretty proud that I didn't completely embarrass myself.
Sure.
But yeah, the face planting was great. But then another one of my teammates who has a weird way of bowling face planted too, so I didn't feel as bad.
Oh, nice.
He has like this thing where he crosses his legs at the end, like not like the kick behind like the bowlers do, like literally his legs cross. Okay. And I think he tripped himself and fell.
Now, were you playing against the guy that bowled the 300?
No.
Oh, okay.
The guy was literally in the lane next to us.
Okay.
Did you congratulate him or anything?
Yeah. Everybody, went nuts. Standing ovation. There's we all noticed in the 10th frame. I looked over at his score, and the way the automatic scores work is they won't give you a score until you resolve the strike. So, meaning you don't strike. So his score still said 0 going into the 10th. And I looked up, was like, oh, shit. Sure. This guy's 3 strikes away from 300. This is the first time I've ever seen a 300. Closest I was my one friend almost did it in the bowling Catholic League championship game when we were seniors. He ended up getting 9 in a row and then missed the last one.
Man, I'd go home and kill myself.
yeah, he ended up missing the last one. So, I was all nervous when the guy was going up for his last roll this time. But yeah, it was amazing. The league isn't ultra competitive. There's a lot of handicap. I have an 80-year-old woman on my team.
Oh my goodness.
So it's not ultra competitive. But yeah, this guy was just really good.
I bet his story is this guy goes home and he's like, yeah, I bowled a 300. And despite the fact this asshole next to me was flopping around like a fish on the floor.
Just face planted right when I was about to.
Yeah. Honey, he goes home, honey, I bowled a 300. Oh, come here. No. Guy face planted right next to me.
That was the highlight of his night.
Highlight of the night.
On the 8th frame, about to roll, and this asshole just face down.
Looking like he's praying.
We need to fix your definition of some of these words, by the way. Off the podcast, we had the discussion about something that was fun, and it turned out it was someone
not fun,
and it was not fun.
I know. See, the fun thing I know is a problem. No. Meaning, okay. Let's take that sentence. I meant when I say a fun thing, I know I do that for situations that is obviously not a fun thing. Sure. I do know I do that. But this was supposed to be a joke, tell you 2 things, and the me face planning was the more exciting thing.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's my Tuesday nights now. Doing that. Basically, I had to get registered with the whatever the bowling thing is called now. So I guess I'm a card carrying professional, like whatever bowler or whatever. I have to sign up for the club to be in this league. But yeah, it was fun. Yeah, so I just thought you guys would enjoy that. I am glad that it wasn't me like in my normal like bowling fell, like did something stupid. It was me forgetting to take something off my shoe that anybody would have fell if they did that.
Sure.
But it was fun. But thankfully everybody seemed mature about it. I mean, we chuckled and laughed, but nobody like kept bringing it up.
Yeah.
You know,
I would have been like, you fucking asshole.
Yeah. I did make a joke because
All.
the next one I went up there and I like walked real carefully because my knee was a little bit hurt for the next frame, and I did real carefully and slow and all and rolled and ended up getting a strike. And I turned to one guy on my team and was like, I should just face plant and practice every week and then come out and roll strikes.
It's a Henry Rowan Gardner effect.
That's what I needed. But yeah, so that was my evening tonight. So I actually watched this episode this morning because I had forgotten that I needed to sign up for Paramount Plus. So
it's also on YouTube apparently.
Yeah,
I would have let you borrow my.
I didn't see your message, and I also watched it at like 6:30 this morning. So
okay, well, God, Mark, what are we gonna do with you? You're falling.
Yeah, well, I was gonna have to buy Paramount Plus anyway for soccer reasons down the line. So
all right, fair enough. Don't come crying to me now, Mark.
Yeah,
that was your one chance to get Paramount Plus from me.
It's free.
That's it.
Now you cut off.
Now I'm cut off. No more.
Okay.
This is the only time I use Paramount Plus, by the way. Like I never use it.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, besides Mark falling down, hitting his face, breaking his nose, and bleeding all over the bowling alley, which is, I assume, what happened. It's the week before Thanksgiving. This is coming out on Friday, so this is the last episode for Thanksgiving. And this year we are not doing a Blood Rage episode. We decided, despite there aren't that many Thanksgiving movies out, except for Eli Roth's movie that's coming out this year, and we decided to do a Thanksgiving episode. So we are a big proponent of ridiculous Christian TV shows. So what better Christian TV show than Seventh Heaven? So we watched a first season episode entitled Last Call for Aunt Julie, which is all about their drunk aunt coming for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So
before we get into it, I do have to point out one thing. The opening title having one of those cheesy ass theme songs brought back a lot of memories. Because they don't really do that for any television shows anymore.
It's a banger of a theme song.
Yeah.
But yes, season 1, episode 10, Last Call for Aunt Julie. So, gentlemen, where are you coming from? Dan, Seventh Heaven, Last Call for Aunt Julie.
Okay, so I've never seen this episode. I had watched Seventh Heaven as a kid. I didn't really understand. I don't remember it fondly, I'll say. I think it was just something I would watch when I would get home from school or just something to pass the time. But I don't remember much of it. This episode, like I said, I've never seen, and I want to say we're 2 for 2 with TV episodes that we're reviewing this year. Mm-hmm. The first one being Bash at the Beach for Baywatch, and now this one. This one is fantastic. I love how overly dramatic everybody is in this. It goes from 0 to 100 in no time flat, which I love. It didn't waste any time getting to Aunt Julie becoming a lush and just the family absolutely turning on her. It's so great. It's what I imagine really happens in life, where you make one mistake at a family's house, especially a white collar family like the Camdens, where they live in this perfect bubble, their nice house, they're church going people, so everything is very pristine. So if you cause one iota of a problem in that little sphere of theirs, they'll tear you apart, man. Then they proceed to do so in this episode, and I'm very excited to get into how they just absolutely hate Aunt Julie.
All right, Mark, where are you coming from with Seventh Heaven?
Yeah, so I was a like in and out Seventh Heaven person when it was on. Didn't watch as religiously as other shows on the same network. So I have like I don't think I've ever seen an early like episode in terms of seeing Jessica Biel learn how to act, I guess. But
some say she's still learning to this day.
The one thing that surprised me right off the bat is outside of the normal, he's a preacher and they have the little sermon and stuff in church, but there, unless if I missed it or I don't think there's a lot of overtone of like God so much. I think there's only like one or two references to it, maybe. And like it seemed like it was a lot more like being there for your family than anything like spiritual or something. I think the oldest son just has that really ridiculous line when the youngest daughter asks if Aunt Julie is going to die like grandma. And he says, no, only God knows when people die. Or paraphrasing, something like that.
Only God gets to decide who lives and dies.
Yeah. So, that was the only, I was expecting it to be a little more preachy, especially with my history of the show. I watched a little bit more, or a lot more than this, in Secret Life of the American Teenager, which is made by the same creator. And I'm assuming Seventh Heaven gets more preachy as it goes along. But this much more felt like way over dramatic assessment of how these situations go. It was just a masterclass in knowing, I think this was like, to use another term, it's a sort of like a measuring stick maybe for them to see where the kids were as actors. And I think almost all of them failed the test. Maybe Barry Watson might have been the best of it, but it was interesting. I know. I think my favorite scene that actually made me laugh out loud, that probably shouldn't have made me laugh out loud, was when she has like the night terror or whatever, and then she just starts screaming, "The rats! The rats!" out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. It was just such a random thing to have her start screaming that it made me like chuckle a little bit. But yeah, the entire episode, was definitely. I would like to have seen the promos for it, because it would have been one of those really serious, special episode of Seventh.
Now, real quick, Aunt, or maybe one of you guys can tell me the answer to this. Does Aunt Julie make a comeback in future episodes? Does anyone know?
Yes. She has about 18 episodes that she is in.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it seems like it is a recurring theme. At least the next episode, it mentions that she is potentially having a relapse.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if she was a one and done character.
Nope. I looked it up earlier today.
I would assume just about everybody that's a Camden probably shows up multiple times.
Sure.
At some point. Yeah.
But they couldn't break the blues hound shtick with her, I guess, huh?
Well, they started that early. First episode, they got to stick with it.
Yeah, that's got to be a rough go as an actor. Like, my character's just only known as a lush.
But she was a little scary in parts of, like, scary drunk in parts of this episode. But I would imagine on a show as, tight, in terms of, not giving too much of a leadway for, non, family values stuff. Being the one that gets to have the wild scenes, like at the bar, might be fun for that actor, and not have to be the goody two shoes person all the time.
Sure.
But yeah, it just seemed like part of me thinks this actress looked at this and didn't really like. It was like, oh man, I was like, I'm just going to overdo it so they never bring me back. And they were wrong. She was wrong.
As for me, I did watch Seventh Heaven. I don't think I was watching it this early. I forgot how early the show started in '96. I didn't think it was really that started that early.
It was this and Dawson that basically started that network.
But I don't really remember this episode, but I wish I did. This episode is just fucking great. Great. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. Just Aunt Julie, I love the simmering rage that you could see on her face when she's trying to get the key from Simon. Just wonderful. I love how she cannot keep herself together at the church. Which how long is that church service? 45 minutes maybe?
An hour usually, right?
And she is in shambles.
She got the shakes.
Apparently these are things that happen in a detox of alcohol, like if you are that bad, you can start having hallucinations, what they call the DTs.
Okay.
Those are things that are real. But when I was watching this, I was like, is she fucking detoxing off heroin for fuck's sakes?
Yeah.
But apparently these are things that I don't know how often it's this bad though, because I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's that often. I feel like this is like the extreme case.
It looked like she was trying to kick hard drugs and not alcoholism in this.
Yeah. Not to say that alcoholism isn't a real thing.
No, but
or serious, but
from what I saw in this, it definitely had the symptoms of cocaine or heroin kind of stuff like that.
It's like scenes at a train spotting. Her detox.
Yeah.
I don't know if like you said, the detoxing is that difficult. Not difficult, but like train spotting level for alcohol. We might be wrong. I've never sat with anyone trying to not have them drink for a few days after they've been like on a drunk binge like she was.
Right.
But I also did like that when they were explaining alcoholism, they didn't make it seem like just being sober is like the way to avoid it. Like, you know what I mean? They were like, some people just can't do it. I'm like, oh, good. It's not like a nobody should drink, type of preaching.
They do a good job in this episode of kind of explaining what's going on and the effects of it. Right? She loses her job. Aunt Julie loses her job, her friends. She has no money. So it's like, there's no preaching in it, really.
The only slight, like, read between the lines preaching is she's in that godless city of New York.
Sure.
My favorite part of this episode was when Stephen Collins' character, the dad, Eric Camden, decides he is going to detox his sister in the house.
Because he has some training as a counselor.
And he has training. He's better than anyone in the rehab center anyway, apparently. But to show the passage of time, they show like his hair is just not done right, and it looks like he himself is coming off of a heroin.
I have the same thing written in my notes, is that he looks worse than she does.
Yes. Like, oh, he's so haggard. And it's been a day.
He's got a full-on beard almost. His eyes are bloodshot. He looks like he tied one on last night.
Super pale.
Yeah. It's wild. Great. I love how much of an asshole Jessica Biel is in this.
Yes.
No compassion.
None. It's
like she may as well have just said, I hope she dies.
She pretty much says that.
Yeah. And she wasn't even around for the situation when it went down, when Julie grabbed Simon, the youngest son. And the next scene, you're like, good, I hope she's gone. She should never come back. Like, damn, what kind of family member are you? Like, when they're at their lowest, kick them out of here.
Yeah. She had a talking to with Mary. Just being like, hey, this isn't her fault. Stop being an asshole.
I looked up to her.
Sure. Listen. We all have family members that go through rough times every now and then, but you don't turn your back on them that quickly.
Yeah.
sometimes a family member is a lost cause, and you kind of have to separate with them, or else it's going to bring you down, kind of thing. But this is the first time you're seeing this, and your immediate answer is get her out of here.
Yeah. My wife she's actually watched this episode with me, and she made a good point. Is like, as the show goes on, Mary is like the trouble child, and she becomes a problem. And she's like, well, and then Matt has that conversation with her. I hope when you screw up or something you screw up, that someone shows you more compassion than you're showing Aunt Julie. And he's like, foreshadowing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They were setting this up.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but because if I would have guessed, it would have been Matt who would turn into kind of the trouble child, because everyone wants to bone him. I think.
Man, yeah. I mean, it's the hair. 90% of it.
It was a nice head of hair.
I was like, that's what I said to my wife. I was like, man, Matt's got a gorgeous head of hair.
He does. It's like the grunge era hair, right? It's very, very flowing, straight hair. Like, man, yeah. How often in a show or a movie do you see a female actively telling the male character that they want to jump his bones?
Yeah, she's like, we're going on a ski trip, and you have permission to just go at it raw.
Right. She was basically like trying to cuff him.
Yep. Just trying to get a trap baby out of that ski trip.
Definitely. Like, oh, this is a me trip. She calls it a me trip.
Yep.
so like you could ride these slopes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she's just like, let's fuck.
Yeah, that's not going to set up for something preachy later.
Right. Yeah, I'm assuming the parents probably would imagine her as the devil, because women shouldn't be chasing men. That's not old school.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I love this episode from beginning to maybe not the end. Well, no, I will say the end, because it does that classic, like it ends on them making fun of her for being drunk.
Right? She makes the joke.
Oh, she makes the joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about the sweaters. I was drunk when I bought them. Hilarious.
That explains it.
The father says that explains it. I spent a week rehabbing you. Now I'm going to make a joke at your expense.
It seems a little soon.
A little bit.
She's just taken the first shower after a detox episode.
Yeah, she's at her lowest still.
Cutting jokes, doing a tight five about her drinking.
Yeah, that was but again, that's I turned to my wife as we were watching it, and I was like, if I remember correctly, this show basically usually wouldn't end on a downer. It usually wrap it up in that time period.
Yeah, I think for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, she's going to have to kick it somehow, or she's going to go to rehab, which she, I guess, winds up doing.
Yes. One of my favorite lines from the show is she's on the phone with the rehab center, and she says, "Oh, yes, I definitely qualify." I was like, oh, my God, I am a fucking mess. I assure you.
I thought you were going to say the part where she was like, "I'm real sneaky."
She did say that, too.
Yeah. Who says that about themselves?
I'm very sneaky, so you guys are gonna have your hands full.
Like, I don't want you. We don't want to deal with this. You're pulling off Houdini acts over here.
Yeah, that's like, I can assure you, I qualify. It's like,
I mean,
I'm a fucking mess.
At least she's self-aware. But right, I feel like most people are like, no, yeah, I have a problem, but it's not that bad. To her, it's just straight to the point.
Yeah. So, Seventh Heaven, Season 1, Episode 10, Last Call for Aunt Julie, is directed by Joel J. Feigenbaum, who directed 50 episodes of Seventh Heaven. Stars Stephen Collins, Catherine Hicks, Barry Watson, David Gallagher, Jessica Biel, Beverly Mitchell, Mackenzie Rossman, Happy the Dog, Deborah Raffin, and Matthew Linville. IMDb score of 6.9 and Rotten Tomatoes score, nothing for this episode, but Season 1 has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 75%. Original air date, November 26th, 1996.
Yeah, the The only weird thing about this episode is now with all the stuff that came out, Stephen Collins, all of his interactions with Lucy and the younger kids is like, oh, ugh.
Creep.
Yeah. But listen, it kind of fits the narrative, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, wink.
Character. I know that's a little bit of a. I don't know if we're supposed to touch on it, but we were all about the. We speak the
Well,
truth
it didn't stop Stephen Collins, did it?
It did not. On 3 separate occasions, it did not stop him. From what I read, yeah, it's weird. And I mean, Jessica Biel married Justin Timberlake, so
yeah,
she's got her problems.
Yeah. You guys want to get into the plot?
Yeah, let's do it.
I can't wait.
Dan, what do you got?
So real quick, guys, please go check out 2 good friends of the podcast. First up, our friend Tia and her co-host Brittany. We've had Tia on this podcast before. If you're a longtime listener, I'm sure you've heard her on a couple episodes. Her and her co-star Brittany have a podcast called The Top 10 with Tia, where they run down their top 10 list of the week. So it ranges from movies, actors, video games, TV shows, a whole slew of things. So go check them out at geekvibesnation.com. And last but not least is the Game Vault podcast with our very own Mark Myers. It is a bi-weekly podcast where they talk about video games that they're playing, video game news, like upcoming games, old school games that they've played for the week. The Retro Roulette game ranges from Nintendo, Game Boy, Sega, Super Nintendo. It runs the whole gamut. It's a lot of fun. Please go check them out on any podcast platform of your choice. And they also stream on Twitch at Game Vault Pod, so please make sure to subscribe to them and check them out.
Okay, great. And we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Steve.
And this is Adam.
And we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast,
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us.
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder,
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh hi, didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into the episode of Seventh Heaven, Season 1, Episode 10, Last Call, for Aunt Julie. Camden pulling into the driveway with his sister as everyone waits their arrival. Come through the front door and are greeted by by Annie, and then the kids. I don't know why I have Adam here. They come through the front door and are greeted by Annie, and then the kids. She comes showering everyone with compliments, and then we get the impression it's been a while since the aunt has seen the kids. So she starts passing out gifts to them to buy their love. A doll for Ruthie, a wallet full of cash for Matt, cosmetics for the girls, and Batman and Robin sweaters for Simon and Happy.
Yeah, it was the wallet full of cash thing just made me laugh. It was like the writers couldn't figure out what joking like present to give like an adult boy, like a 17-year-old boy. It was like, money. Sure.
I thought that was foreshadowing that she might have like stolen money from her boyfriend.
That would have been good. That would have been good. It's like, I just had this wallet. Why is this other man's ID in here, Aunt Julie? Oh, that's the picture that comes with it when you buy the wallet.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be something along those lines.
Matt goes to show Aunt Julie to her room, and Lucy and Mary try to convince the parents to let them spend Thanksgiving with their friends. Mary wants to go to the movies after dinner, and Lucy wants to go to her boyfriend Jimmy Moon's house, a character that is forever named by his first and last name, and I kind of love that.
It very much gave me, from Hawkeye, the whole Kate Bishop thing from Yelena. Like she never referred to her as Kate. It's always a full name.
I feel like that's
Goldberg,
his name's Jimmy Moon.
Jimmy Moon.
Yeah, that's 100% a gang boss. Gang. Or that's like a mafioso guy. You go see Jimmy the Moon.
And that kid does seem like a little bit of a sociopath, I think.
I think he's just got a touch of the tism, maybe.
Oh, he's on the spectrum.
Maybe a little bit.
Because he's very uncaring towards the family's plight.
Yeah.
I think it's more that they didn't know how to show that he was on the spectrum without making him seem like a sociopath.
I think from what I remember from this show, I think the kid just sucks at acting.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what it really comes down to.
That
Is
could
that
be true too.
he's just bad at it.
There's like no emotion.
But he's a man of taste. He's going to spend Thanksgiving watching the Twilight Zone marathon, so I respect it.
Yes.
That's all it takes in Ant's book.
Yep. A man of culture. The parents say that they'll think about it. And Mary just wants to go to the movies. Just let her go to the fucking movies.
Yes,
She's
she's
so
got the
upset.
least
Yeah.
offensive thing.
Right. The son wants to go on a ski trip with another family. And what Mary wants to go to the movies, right? And
Yeah.
Lucy wants to go hang out with her boyfriend.
Yeah. She wants to go to Jimmy Moon's house.
Yeah. So yeah, hers is the least worrisome.
Yeah. Matt's just going to get all the sex.
Whether he likes it or not.
All that
Yeah.
premarital sex.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be an episode where he and another woman are like making out or something, and she's pressing him and like, no, I'm saving myself.
I don't think I think Matt was the one that didn't become super religious from what I remember. Remember there's a whole marijuana episode.
Oh no.
Yeah. I think it turns out that he was literally holding it for a friend, and it's super lame.
I've seen that episode.
Yeah.
I remember that. The dad freaks out.
And the dad freaks out about the mom because the mom admits that when she was younger, she smoked marijuana, and he's like, I don't know, it's like I don't even know you anymore.
Did she inhale?
I don't know. I mean, it was the 90s, so maybe they didn't. Maybe she said she didn't.
Like a quick side note, that reminds me of. Did you guys ever see that movie, the Dewey Cox story?
No.
So there's a scene where
Yes,
he walks in. You have, okay, so you might remember this scene, Ant, where Dewey Cox walks in on everyone smoking marijuana, and he's like, "Well, it's got to be addictive, right? It is non-habit forming. Well, it's got to be expensive. It is the cheapest drug there is." Like all these great, like you must get a hangover. No hangover, but like it's the greatest drug ever. And in the 90s, during the Dare era, it was like, this is the worst thing you could possibly do because it'll lead to all these other drugs.
Gateway drug.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, fucking Reagan.
I missed out on all those years I could be doing drugs.
Yeah, right. It's all because of Nancy Reagan, the throat goat.
Throat coat. She had to send people on a red herring. Like, I can't have people finding out I was really good at this, so drugs are bad.
Yeah. Going back to Matt real quick. If there is not an episode where they call the girlfriend a succubus or a vixen, I think they missed out.
I think that's the devil. That woman has the devil in her.
Matt shows Aunt Linda to her room, and he asks her if it would bother her if he went on a ski trip with the possibility of sex instead of hanging out with her for the holiday. She says it's fine as long as he has a chance for premarital sex. He then asks of her about her boyfriend, and she says he's spending the holiday with his parents. Then when Matt leaves the room, she downs a half a bottle of vodka. After her classic Seventh Heaven credit sequence, we watch characters bring their dishes into the kitchen after dinner. And the mom and dad tell Lucy, Mary, and Matt that they are old enough to make their own holiday plans, so the kids are very happy.
Real quick.
Yep.
In that scene, the youngest child, Ruth, goes
Ruthie?
in.
Ruthie?
Yeah, Ruthie. She puts her dish on the counter, tries to wash her hands, picks the dish back up, and walks it back into the dining room with it. What did I miss something? What was that?
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be a jokey scene, but it was essentially, I think she was trying to turn on the water so she could wash her dish. She couldn't, so she brought it back in. I have no idea why. She could have just left it there.
Yeah, I was like, I must have missed something. Is
And-
this something she's supposed to wash? And
I loved how they totally fake fed the dog.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Then Aunt Julie cheers the parents for their experiment in parenting, quote unquote, then downs what is maybe her second glass of wine, and Simon shames her for it.
I would have slapped Simon right there.
yeah. Simon needs to mind his business.
Yeah.
And he's so condescending the way he's like, "Wow, Aunt Julie, you sure like wine."
Yeah.
Hey, fuck off, kid.
Back the fuck off, kid.
You and your
The
bowl
holidays.
haircut.
The holidays with the family, everybody drinks.
Right. I'm surprised they didn't go that route where like listen, it's the holidays. Everyone has a hard time dealing with it. Just let her have some fun.
Mm-hmm. Then Rev Camden just up and leaves, saying he has a deacon meeting, which sounds like a lie. the older kids have to clean up the plates because they're getting what they want for the holidays.
Were you saying that his deacon meeting was meeting underage girls?
I mean,
Now I am.
Collins.
That's what he was saying in real life
Yeah.
to the studio. Like, oh, I have a deacon meeting.
Steven, you're not a real deacon.
I can't hear
method
you.
acting. He's being real method about it.
Oh yeah.
After dinner, Julie and Annie talk. Julie is having a rough time in life. She's a principal in a New York school, and she's just over it, including her boyfriend. And Annie goes to put the kids to bed, and then Julie helps herself to the Camden's liquor cabinet for some of that sweet nectar.
They're the Camdens are very trusting with their liquor cabinet. They just leave the key in it the whole time.
Yep. Yeah. Later, Matt is getting an over-the-pants tug job by the car from the girl that he's going on a ski trip with. And she says that she has no intention of skiing, and she'll basically let him hit it all weekend. Reverend Camden comes home and talks to Annie before he goes to bed. He says he's nervous about doing a sermon in front of his sister. Annie makes it up to him by kissing him hard. She then asks him if he thinks Julie was drinking too much, but he blows it off, saying Julie has plenty of self-control. At the church the next morning, the Reverend is giving his sermon, and Julie is having an absolute meltdown as she's itching for her next fix. And everyone looks at her when she fumbles with her purse. Later, Annie calls Julie's boyfriend to say, quote unquote, say she was sad to hear he couldn't make it, but really she's going behind Julie's back to check up on her. Her boyfriend says that they actually broke up and that Julie got herself fired for drinking on the job. Meanwhile, Simon is downstairs jumping on the couches playing Batman when Julie walks in to have another go at the liquor cabinet. When Simon swipes the key, saying she's Catwoman, and he foiled her plans once again.
You and I talked about this off the podcast, but this also is a favorite line of mine where I don't think Simon understands how Batman works. He says, "I'm what was it? I'm the best,
the world's greatest athlete."
The world's greatest athlete, and that means I cannot be caught. Or, you can't catch me.
Yeah.
That I at first I thought he was going to say he's the world's greatest detective. Like, oh,
right.
Okay, yeah, that's right. He's not the world's greatest athlete.
Nope.
He doesn't throw 104 miles an hour.
Exactly. That's what when I was watching. He was like, "I'm the world's greatest athlete." I'm like, no, that's not true.
Simon deserves everything he gets coming to him.
Yeah. So she playfully tackles him and starts to tickle him, rage visibly building up inside her until she finally snaps and picks him up and throttles him against the couch until Annie comes in and pulls her away and kicks her out of the house. Great scene.
Yeah, so over dramatic.
Get out!
Don't you ever touch my children! Get out of here! Like pushes her out of the house. Listen, I guess I can't tell people how to raise their kids or how to manage that. I think she overreacted a little bit. The mother.
Yeah, I mean, they say she strangles him, but I don't see any strangulation happening.
No, she's
got him by the lapels.
Yeah.
And she's manhandling him, yes.
Yeah, she's not. It doesn't look like she's hurting him, right? Like you said, she's just got him by the shirt.
Yeah.
So
she's like, they're like fighting over the key. Like maybe she's hurting him by like squeezing his hand or something like that. But
yeah,
she doesn't have her hands around his throat as everyone reacts as such.
Throughout the rest of the episode, everyone treats Aunt Julie as if she physically beat Simon to within an inch of his life.
Yes.
She's this big monster, and she shouldn't be around the kids.
Yeah. At night, Reverend Camden finds Julie at a bar, having already put away several beers. She's cozying up to a guy named Jack, who's surly that night. But Reverend Camden threatens Jack, and Jack leaves. What was that?
They use that word surly. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. I just love that he is the Reverend is probably the least intimidating person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this guy just basically go, "Oh, I'm sorry, Reverend. I didn't know she's your sister."
Yeah. He tells the bartender that he's surly too. and then proceeds to drag his sister screaming and kicking out of the bar.
He makes an enormous scene, yeah.
Huge scene.
Well, that's the Reverend, so we got to let him do what he needs to do.
We just have to let him abscond with this lady.
Yeah.
Who he could be kidnapping this poor woman.
The Rev says that they've been searching for her for 7 hours, which I mean, like, there's probably one bar in this quaint little town.
Right.
Just check that. And he tries to get her to leave, but Julie doesn't want to, so she slaps him in the face and he physically removes her from the bar. At home, Annie has a very exposition-y conversation with the kids, explaining alcoholism to them, and the kids are displaying varying displays of compassion, except for Mary, who is showing a complete lack of compassion. Rev brings home Julie, and she overacts the shit out of being drunk. Matt helps his dad hold Julie up as she struggles to stand under her own power. Mary freaks out again to the point where her parents send her to her room. Julie is brought upstairs by Matt and the Rev as she sobs. Upstairs, there's a phone call, and it's Jimmy Moon, a man of culture who plans to watch the Twilight Zone marathon on Thanksgiving.
From now on, I just want Jimmy Moon to always have this superlative man of culture.
But other than that, he shows no emotion, but is a proponent of vaccinations, so that's good.
Yeah.
After the call, Matt tells his sisters that they should cancel their plans for Thanksgiving because the family needs them there. Mary freaks out again, saying that Aunt Julie is a loser and that she's embarrassed that she ever looked up to her. Downstairs, Annie and the Rev talk about what they need to do with Julie. They mention taking her to a facility, but Eric doesn't think she's going to stick with it if she goes the way she is now. So the Rev wants to detox her in the house for a few days before they ship her off to a rehab.
Real quick.
Annie, yep.
Sorry to interrupt, but
nope.
Matt, he's a real one in this episode. He's the only one other than the father who like sticks by Aunt Julie, thick or thin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matt Camden. Downstairs, Annie and the Rev. Annie is against it because she doesn't want it going on with the children in the house, but the Rev convinces Annie to let him do it on his own. Julie tries to sleep. Simon and Ruthie give back the gifts she gave them. Matt breaks the news that he won't be. The next morning, Matt breaks the news that he won't be going on the ski trip, and the girlfriend does not take it particularly well. Says he'll be sorry. What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, you're never gonna get a piece of this anymore. Did you get to the scene? I think you might have mentioned it when they give the gifts back, right?
Yeah.
Simon just walks by and says, "We don't want anything from you," and
just throws it in the room.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, damn, he just came by to do that and leave. Everyone's fucking heartless, man.
Yeah.
For this Christian family.
In the morning, they move Julie to the master bedroom to work through the detox. And she tries to act like she's all better now. And the Rev looks like he's had a worse night than she did. She tries to convince him that she's all better and she can go home now. But he's intent on committing false imprisonment and tells her that she won't leave until she fully detoxes. Outside, Annie argues with Mary about Julie still being in the house. And Lucy says that they want to help Annie cook Thanksgiving dinner. Matt goes upstairs and sits with Julie to let his dad take a break. And Julie immediately starts to try and convince Matt that she's fine and wants him to get her a beer. And when he refuses, she snaps at him and kicks him out of the room. I thought he was going to be a big dummy and just give it to her. That wouldn't hurt, now would it?
Yeah, which one beer?
Right, because she's like working him over big time. Like, oh, you were always my favorite. You're the best. I've always been there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally thought he was gonna like, oh yeah, I got you, Aunt Julie.
Later, Ruthie and Simon are tracing their hands to make turkeys, and they start to regret giving their presents back, so they go to Matt's room to see if they're still there. Meanwhile, Julie is having an absolute freak out as the DTs start to hit. And the Reverend Annie tried to keep her from hurting herself as she starts to scream about rats. As the Reverend Annie sleep in the morning, kids start cooking Thanksgiving dinner. And as Mary continues to throw absolute shade at Julie. Reverend Annie tried to tell the kids that they could go and do their plans they had canceled, but the kids say that they started the dinner and they intend to finish it. Matt gives Mary a talking to, telling her that he hopes that if she's ever in trouble, someone shows her more compassion than she's showing Aunt Julie. Julie calls the rehab and asks if they have a room, and says she can be dropped off Friday after Thanksgiving. And she says, "Oh yeah, I definitely qualify for your assistance."
I don't think it's up to her to decide that, right?
You don't know how many bottles of vodka I have drunk. Is there like a record board at the thing?
I almost beat my nephew to death for the key.
She almost Hope Solo'd him. Mary then comes into the room to check on Aunt Julie, who apologizes to Mary. And then Mary says that she wants to give her a makeover. Kids at the table for Thanksgiving dinner, and the kids have thoroughly burned everything. Julie comes down all made over. Simon really reacts to her like a bear just walked into the room.
Yeah. Oh man. He it looks like he just saw a ghost. Right? She walks in, he just goes stiff as a board and like backs away.
Yeah.
Like, relax, kid.
Yeah. It's like that one youngling when Order 66 and Revenge of the Sith is happening.
Yes. When Anakin ignites the lightsaber.
Yeah, the kid like stumbles backwards, which, I mean, tangent, audibly laughed out loud in that scene when I first saw it in theaters.
When you first saw it.
Yep.
Wow. That's surprising because I don't remember how I felt, but I don't remember laughing at that.
I think my sister like elbowed me.
He's gonna kill all the children. Or as Mark would say, he's gonna have some fun.
Yeah.
The fun thing is Anakin's about to murder all these children.
Fun thing is all the Padawans are dead.
And then Julie apologizes to Simon and tells him that she's going to go somewhere that's going to help her get better. And they all sit down to dinner and Annie leads Grace. Then Julie makes a joke about her own drinking. And they all start digging in. And that is the end of the episode. What a delightful, hilarious, over-the-top episode.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. If I had more time, I would have went back and like watched episodes around it to kind of see like where this tracks of, things like we mentioned the ham-fisted like religious aspect we expected to have in this episode, which really wasn't that present. So I wonder if like the neighboring episodes had more of that.
Yeah.
And was this more just like a special episode,
I think I would have to imagine that it's sprinkled, maybe not super heavily, but it's sprinkled in the episodes here and there.
This is the first season, so they're probably trying to get their footing of like what every episode is. I'm sure they got into a routine where they probably like every episode, if I remember correctly, every episode towards like the end always has like a message and specifically a scene in the church where the reverend gives a speech or a sermon specifically around that kind of message.
That makes sense. And one of the daughters becomes a reverend as well.
Right, Lucy.
Okay. So it's definitely prevalent, but maybe not at first.
Yeah. They just sneak in the wholesome family values, and then the agenda comes in at season 3.
Yeah. Yeah, this was the 90s were a big time for that, right? With everything needed to have a message. Every show had some storyline that had it would get wrapped up at the end with kind of a speech or a monologue of something along those lines, right? Like Fresh Prince, Seventh Heaven, even Baywatch would have certain things, like certain storylines that would get kind of wrapped up at the end with a big speech.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I mean, we had the whole skin cancer storyline in Bash at the Beach.
That's right. If Full House was a big one for that, right?
Uh-huh.
Danny would sit down with the girls and tell them like whatever the lesson of the week was.
Mm-hmm.
Bullying, boys, whatever.
Yeah, even if you get into like a show like Home Improvement, did that, and I'm always reminded of that from that great scene of they did the very special episode of Home Improvement, and the promo was talking about that, and then it cut to like the thing about the Dana Carvey show.
Yeah.
Very special episode of Home Improvement. And then the Dr. Bart's Root Beer Dana Carvey show.
Perfect segue.
That didn't sum up the 90s. But yeah, the whole thing about this is I'm wondering if the creator, it's Beverly something, I think it's the creator, was, got too comfortable as things got popular in terms of not like hiding the religious aspect of it. Because season 1 very much, if this is any indication of it, it's like, tamer because you want to get the audience to watch. And then, because you've watched it more recently than I have, Ant. Is it like smack in the face in the first season of Secret Life?
Oh, it absolutely is.
Okay. Yeah.
What a good show that is.
Yeah. I had a feeling that she did not take that same tact when it came to Secret Life.
Is it Brenda Hampton? Is that her name?
Brenda Hampton. That's it. Yeah. But yeah, it's just this episode was basically outside of the lack of God stuff. It was everything I was expecting a Seventh Heaven way to deal with alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
Because they couldn't go to too hard of drugs, because then that meant that they weren't perfect Christians. At least alcohol is something everybody did. But
I was surprised that a lot of the family turned on the aunt, because again, I thought they would all rally behind her, but it was really only Matt and the father.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that was a little bit of maybe we're putting things on it that wasn't there. Maybe it's just a little bit of foreshadowing.
Maybe.
Of where they were going to take the Mary character. I think specifically in this episode, if you were going to give them any credit at all, and maybe they did have a show Bible or something that, no pun intended, for this, that the idea was to use an episode like this to show, Mary and Matt, having two different reactions to things. And just that's how their characters were going to go. Because I think it was a lot easier to write for the first couple seasons thinking about those characters than to think about where you were going with like Lucy and everyone, the younger ones. But yeah, I'm wondering if that's why she had such a bad reaction, because she was going to be the one that was going to be like Aunt Julie, and Matt is understanding compassion stuff from a non-spiritual side, and that's why he doesn't become like big in the church or anything. But still loves family. I just think it was it was handled better than I thought it would have been at this time period. But I've also been surprised about other issues that are like hot button issues now that were handled much better in like 70s, 80s, and 90s shows. And it just reminds you that just because it was old or a while ago doesn't automatically mean that the thing was done in a very terrible way. Now, over dramatic, yes.
Yeah. But
in a poor descriptive way, no. Because they have that whole scene in the kitchen where they explain everything, and there is no shaming in it, even though the kid tries to shame her, or shame anybody that drinks, but then the parents shut it down immediately.
I'm sure this movie, I'm sure this show tackled a lot of things that are still going on today. Like, I'm sure there's an episode where someone had an abortion and they were talking about that. I guarantee it.
Yeah, but I would imagine that those things that are a little more tied to the Christian faith than alcoholism weren't handled as well as this is. And this had a very much, the aunt mentioned it earlier, this had a very big chance of being like a 40-minute Dare episode, and Scared Straight stuff and all that. But they handled it very well, and kept it more about family than, anything that Dare even does. And I will have to say I was surprised by that. I would like to see how they handle hot button topics as the creator and writer and all got more comfortable, being a little more on the preachy side. But yeah, this was surprisingly a decent episode of television.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that is our episode, or our discussion of this episode. We are going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with a third segment. Before that, you guys are going to listen to some ads to pay those bills, and we will be right back. And welcome back. And now it's time for our third segment. And this week we are doing Fantasy Draft. And as this is the last episode before Thanksgiving, we're doing Thanksgiving foods. So we spin the wheel off podcast, and the order is Dan, followed by myself, and then Mark on the snake draft. So we'll pick 4 each and go with our favorites Thanksgiving foods. So Dan, what do you go? Where's number 1 pick overall? Where are you going?
All right. I want to preface this by saying I'm not a huge Thanksgiving fan, so you guys are probably gonna kick my ass. Yeah, I know. It just it doesn't appeal to me. But so I'm gonna go with something that tried and true. Give me stuffing at number 1.
Stuffing, nice. How do you like it, Dan? How do you like your stuffing?
Vegan.
Plain.
Yeah, just regular stuffing.
All right, stuffing. Not a bad pick, despite how you want to take all the fun out of it.
Yeah, sorry. It's gonna be a very boring list for me.
All right, so I got to think of how to steal some of your picks then.
Oh, you son of a bitch! Don't do that.
Tofurkey is my first pick. No.
Damn. Shocker.
I thought I would have had that. That would have been my sleeper.
So, I'm Italian, so we have very interesting foods that we eat during the holiday. But I'm going to try and stick a little more traditional. And I am going to go with. I'm not going to go turkey. I'm going to go with mashed potatoes.
God damn it.
You do anything special with the mashed potatoes?
Lynn makes the mashed potatoes. She puts some garlic in it. She makes little garlic mashed potatoes. She keeps the skins on too.
Okay, nice.
A little butter, gravy if you want it, but mashed potatoes, yeah.
Yeah.
Not my favorite of the potato.
It is your favorite of the potato?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a good way to have a potato. I'll give you that.
That's right. Yeah. All right, Mark. Did I steal your pick?
You both stole my picks.
Oh, damn.
Those are my first 2 picks.
Oh,
all right. Well, you got 2 picks. You have a chance to steal some from us.
I will mention my one thing, and then I want to just give a little shout out about stuffing when I'm done. But so
steal your pick, man.
So so my number 3 choice on this list, I will go with I love corn. Just as fresh corn as you can get. Frozen is probably the easiest, short of just taking it off the cob. If extra points if you can get the white and yellow corn mixed in there, like the sweet and all that. So some butter, some garlic, pepper, just very basic with that. And then I will bite the bullet and I will take turkey, but specifically dark meat turkey. I am a fan of the dark meat because maybe it's just family not being really good at cooking the turkey, but the white meat was always way too dry for me at Thanksgiving, so I always lean towards the dark meat. But yeah, my number 1 choice was stuffing because my aunt does homemade from scratch stuffing that she stuffs inside the turkey and cooks it inside the turkey. So that is, they literally give me multiple Ziploc bags of the stuffing to take home to eat because I'm the only one that really eats a lot of it. But yeah. So I'll take dark meat turkey and corn as my 2.
Okay. All right. As for me, my next pick is I'm going to go with cranberry sauce from the can.
From the can.
Okay.
From the can.
I'll have to say this is probably low on my list.
Okay. Well,
Cranberry sauce.
Fine.
Yeah. I know I'm weird for it, but yeah.
I'll do you one better, Mark. I hate cranberry sauce.
Well, I mean, come on, Dan. We know you're really not an authority.
Yeah, like I said, this whole holiday does not really appeal to me. I eat slow as molasses, so A holiday centered on eating is just not made for me.
Sure. I get it.
I get it.
All right, Dan. What about you? You got 2 picks.
All right, so I if you guys want to shoot this down, feel free because Mark said corn. I was gonna say cornbread, but
No, it's a different thing. You're good.
That's different.
if you guys are okay with that, I'm going cornbread.
Yeah.
With my next pick, and my third pick, I'm gonna go with. Ooh, this is a tough one. All right, give me. Damn. All right, do desserts count?
Yeah.
Of course they do.
Give me apple pie.
Apple pie.
I'm carbo loading here.
That's what you're supposed to do.
That's Thanksgiving. All right. For my third pick, I'm going to go similar. I'm going to go pumpkin pie.
There you go. It was tough between apple and pumpkin.
Yeah.
So I'll stick with the desserts here. My sister makes a great pudding pie. I will go with. I especially like the chocolate pudding pie that she makes. She makes vanilla as well, which I have both. You guys took my other 2 favorite pies, and then as much as I do like cheesecake, I don't know if that's now you can steal it for one of your next 2 picks, but I feel that's more of a Christmas thing, to be honest. But not sure where we fall on the distinction between Christmas and Thanksgiving foods.
I don't know if that's. I mean, you could pick it. And we have cheesecake, but I don't really think of like cheesecake as a traditional Thanksgiving food.
Yeah, that's why I said it feels more Christmas to me.
Sure.
I've had it more at Christmas dinner than Thanksgiving. Not that I'm taking it as my last one.
Right.
And you can share this one with me. I know you had mentioned Italian things, but living and my mom being with an Italian man for 14 years and living with one for about a year and a half. The 2 Thanksgivings I had, he always had a side of baked ziti with the Thanksgiving dinner. I don't know if that's a tradition in that culture, but there was always a side of baked ziti, and I will use any excuse to eat baked ziti. And so that was always at our Thanksgivings since my mom started dating him in the late 90s. So at least for me, it was part of my tradition. So I will take that with the last pick of the draft.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I'm not going to pick baked ziti. We do have it for Thanksgiving though. But yeah, nice one. I'm gonna finish mine off with Mark took dark meat turkey. I'm gonna take light meat turkey. Light meat.
That's why I left it available. That's why I was specific.
There you go. I appreciate it. I'm sorry, Dan. I know you were itching to take that one.
I know. Yeah, that was my big one.
Specifically how I make it. I smoke the turkey, and it's 100 times better. When I was growing up, my family, like I said, we did the Italian Thanksgiving, so we had plenty of food, all of which I thought, almost overshadowed the turkey. I usually wound up eating the turkey for the first time the next day. But now that I've smoked the turkey, it's even better. So that's what I'm going with. Dan, you got 1 pick left. Take us home.
All right, cool. So I got the dessert. I got the cornbread. I got, what was my first pick? The stuffing. I got the stuffing.
There's one side just sitting out there, Dan.
I'm not a big sweet potato fan.
No, not that.
I know a lot of people like sweet potato pie.
Yeah, that's probably one most of our audience may have been thinking I was referencing.
Yeah, I know that's a big one.
Yeah.
Cranberry sauce was taken. Mashed potatoes taken. We make glazed carrots, but I wouldn't put that on my team. I could do without it. I'm gonna go. Damn, trying to keep it. I got the dessert. I don't want to double up on dessert. That's too much dessert. I could go the Aunt Julie route and just go vodka. Slam it down. No, you know what? Last year, Jen and I found a recipe for a green bean casserole.
There we go.
A vegan green bean casserole that it was a hit with the family. I'm going to go with the green bean casserole.
That was the one I thought you were going to take.
Oh, nice. I'm glad I figured it out.
Yeah. There's one other one, but I don't know if we want to classify it as traditional Thanksgiving side.
What do you have?
The other big one is mac and cheese.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if like we want to have that thing about you have mac and cheese at every like holiday. You know, it's green bean casserole seems to really, at least my traditional, Thanksgiving dinners, that's the only time we would have green bean casserole.
I will say, for one of the parties we had at our house, Anthony and his wife brought over these 2 big dishes of mac and cheese, and it was delicious. So
yeah.
I'm a big fan of Anthony's mac and cheese.
Yeah. Like I said, there was 2 I had left on the table, and one, I didn't know how traditional. We have a little side mac and cheese thing for the kids that don't really like to eat, some of the traditional foods. But I was hoping someone would take green bean casserole.
Well, prayers answered.
Prayers answered. Just like I'm a Camden.
Only God gets to decide who gets the green bean casserole.
All right. Well, those are our fantasy teams for our Thanksgiving meals. And that's going to wrap us up this week. Like I said, this is coming out. This is our last episode for Thanksgiving. I'm not sure if we're going to have a episode after Thanksgiving. We'll see. Busy week. So we'll figure that out. But at the very least, we are here now. Have a good Thanksgiving. Check us out on all our socials. TikTam Pod on X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. And on Threads. They call this movie on TikTok. And if you have any questions, comments, you want to suggest a movie to us, hit us up at Gmail, tictampod@gmail.com. And give us a 5-star review. Check us out on YouTube. I should be posting the next episode of the TikTam Quick Hits soon.
Oh,
so check that out. Yeah, there's one.
Wait a minute, I did one? Yeah, okay.
You did. There's one that I haven't posted yet. Yeah. Yeah, all that stuff. As I said, have a great Thanksgiving if you celebrate. If you are not in America, then just have a pretty good Thursday.
Or if you're Canadian, happy late Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And we're going to get out of here. The director of this episode of Seventh Heaven was Joel J. Feigenbaum. So, for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Vecchio telling Joel J. Feigenbaum, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.